Welcome to Bright by Your Side with Jen, up-leveling in the age of anxiety. My friends, it is a chaotic time, and today we are talking about comfort in chaos and how to find comfort in chaos. All right, we've all been watching the news. We know there are massive layoffs going on right now. Departments are being dismantled in our government. And not even just all of the people across the country. And I'm so sorry for this disruption in your lives, all of my federal worker friends who I value, including the ones overseas, giving vaccinations to children so that we don't get sick over here. But there are companies, there are farmers that were affected by that, the farmers that provide the food to USAID. There's just so much disruption, not just to those workers, but to the rest of our economy. You know, manufacturers that use parts from China and the tariffs are affecting them too. And, you know, it's tough on them right now. There's just a lot of disruption and unknown and chaos. So I thought it would be appropriate to speak to the people who have lost their jobs today, or are worried about having someone else who lost their jobs, or are going through something difficult. And that could be anything. That could be illness, anything. If there's chaos in your life, how to find comfort in that, how to find comfort to get through that, I guess. There's no comfort in the actual chaos. But it depends on how you look at it, okay? And that's what we're here to talk about. So there are certain things mindsets that people who bounce back, the mindset that they take on. And these are, you know, we're talking about very successful people. You talk to any successful person, they've had failures and bankruptcies, and ask them, did you have any failures? They will tell you about how they thought they were going to lose everything, like many times, probably. Some of them many times. But they kept going. And then they did really well doing something different that they didn't expect. They pivoted. And as Steve Jobs says, that you can't connect the dots looking forward, but you can always connect them looking backwards. And that's kind of what I want you to focus on. That sometimes when these things happen to you and you feel like life just pulled the rug out from underneath you, it was meant to force you to pivot. And that your journey here, there are certain things that happen to keep you on your journey, and what your soul and your insides really, really want, your inner being really wants something. And you might be chasing money. You might be chasing security or something that isn't really what you felt like you were here for down inside. And you know that saying, when God shuts a door, he always opens a window. And that's, there's a reason these sayings like really do persist in our cultures, because it is true. And I will share a story about when my husband lost his job. My husband worked at the company for 20 years as a telecom company. Very stressful job. The guy had chest pains and all that kind of stuff. And when the pandemic happened, they laid off a bunch of people, and he was one. And he was very betrayed. He was a vice president. He slaved there. Like I said, he had chest pains. He was their slave. They just had him do all the difficult things, all the migrations. Whenever they bought another company, he had to do the stuff no one else wanted to do. So he was in a really dark place. And then the pandemic happened that week, the shutdown. So like there were no jobs hiring. And as a vice president, it takes a long time to find another job at that level, because a company can have 500 people, but only 3 vice presidents, right? So it's really hard to find that job anyway. But when companies are pivoting to make ventilators, like, good luck, right? There was no vaccine. They didn't know how to treat this. People were dying. It was crazy, right? You remember, it was horrible. So as the phone was not ringing, there were no jobs available. He was very hopeless. So I decided to do something really crazy. I was working at home. we were out of the office. I was working remotely. So I had been studying, I was fascinated with flipping houses, and I had been learning how to do it. And so we went on auction.com, mostly me, and we bought a house in the Cincinnati area for $2,500 so that we could flip it. And yeah, you're right. We didn't have money. So we got a fix and flip loan to do that. So we were using someone else's money to do that. And that's a whole other conversation I could have with you about how that works, because it really does. And the reason we chose the Cincinnati area was because our neighbor was from there and was talking about how he had gone home and noticed all of these neighborhoods improving. And when I looked at all the data, he was right. So we did something really crazy, and we got in the car and went to Cincinnati and started flipping a house. And what that did was, and I knew this, I needed to snap him out of this whole depression and betrayal. And what this did was it gave him like this whole like adventure, time to be scrappy. Like we were staying in this shared Airbnb with random people because we didn't have any money. And I mean, it was like back when we were like 19, right? When you're like broke and you're working and maybe going to college, you're in school and you're broke and you're trying to figure out how to pay your rent and your phone bill or whatever, right? So we were kind of in scrappy mode. And it was actually, it's a challenge. It really snapped him out of the whole job situation because there was just nothing going on. So that was that summer of 2020 that we flipped this house. But so I handle all the money in our personal lives, and I'm seeing, there's just nobody hiring, and our house is really expensive, and our property taxes are really expensive. We live in Los Angeles, utilities really expensive. Just our water bill, because we have no water there. Our water bill really expensive. And as time was ticking away and November came along, I told him we're going to have to sell the house. If we sell the house, we could buy a condo in Palm Springs, which is 2 hours out of town, on just my income. I could qualify by myself if we sell the house, and we could go to Palm Springs and just flip houses for a living. I mean, I would still be working. I was working at Disney in e-commerce. And the reason that's why I got to keep my job was because I worked in e-commerce. But a lot of people at Disney had been put on leave. Furlough was a word that no one used until that happened. Furlough. And that was the plan. So I took the little money that we had and got a new countertop for our kitchen, and a new backsplash, and painted the cupboards white. And I was going to sell the house. We were going to sell the house. Yeah. Our daughter was obviously very upset at the thought, but that's what we had to do. I'm like, TikTok, the phone's not ringing. So we kind of had this plan, and, he finished the house and came home and didn't sell yet. It was just on the market, but he did it. And it was like, you did it, but it's still in the back of the mind. Crap, we got to sell the house. He was really attached to this house. And this house meant everything to him. To have a house in Pasadena where we grew up, it was like a really big win for him. And I just kept saying, my identity is not this address, right? It doesn't matter where I live. My identity is not this address. That's not why I was not put on this planet to live at this address. 123 Elm Street. I was not put on the planet to live at 123 Elm Street. It's just where I live. It's nothing has to be permanent. Nothing is permanent. Everything's temporary. It's okay. And who says we won't have another better house later on? But then before we put the house, I swear to God, it was like a week before the house went on the market. We were going to put the house on the market. Boom, vaccine. Boom, the phone starts ringing. Boom, he's got job interviews. So we held on for another, couple months, and he got a job that March. I mean, it was really, he'd been unemployed for a full year, and we survived it. And the house sold in January. The flip house we did sold in January. So I got a little money from that. And that was our grand adventure. So we got another job, and his new job was much less stressful. It was still telecom, where everyone's trying to kill each other, but his position was the work environment was much less horrible. And that's what I wanted for him. Yeah, we went through a year of that, but it was a great adventure. And I'll tell you, when he was applying for jobs, they asked, so what were you doing this whole last year? And they wanted to hear you were doing volunteer work or something. And when he told them, oh, well, he flipped a house in Cincinnati, they were like, what? I want to flip a house. Like, it made him the coolest guy. Like, that's all they wanted to talk about was him flipping a house. They just were like so enamored with the fact that we had the balls to do that, right? We had balls. They want people who have balls, right? It was great. And that was my plan. I needed to get his brain out of the betrayal and the being a victim and give him something really cool to talk about in that meantime. And then everything worked out better than it was before. He's healthier because of that. He left that job. He'd still be there having chest pains. Like, swear to God, he was drinking too much. He was having chest pains. It was terrible. But he'd been there 20 years and he knew the job. He wasn't going to leave until that happened, right? So again, it was kind of the universe just saying, hey, you need to shake up. You shake up. You're leaning back too hard on something that's bad for you, right? Now, I know some of these jobs are probably your dream jobs, especially these ones that do good for the government, do good for people. These jobs that they're getting rid of are really important in helping people, which is also why it's so distressing for the people who receive help, right? So these are the things you need to keep in mind from the people who bounce back. That number one, life happens for you, not to you. And I'm sure you've heard that before. Life happens for you. So their job is to sit back and be like, okay, hold on. This sucks, but why is this happening to me? Ask that question. What is it? How is this going to play out? And put yourself in that. I wonder how this is going to turn out. I wonder what I'm learning from this. Am I learning from this? What am I learning? Because it's all learning. So that's just step one. Another thing that people who bounce back, they really believe that the universe has their back, that everything will turn out good. They just don't know how. They just know it kind of always does. And think about all the things that you've gone through in your life, all the things you've overcome. Like, you're okay. You came out okay. And you learned something, and maybe what you had was really horrible. Like, maybe you've lost a child, and maybe you can turn and help other people who've lost children and really realize that maybe this was supposed to be your calling. Because that happens. I know people who've lost children, and they're amazing people, just amazing people. So the key is that this is a pivotal moment in your life, and it's going to bring you something better. You are about to have an improvement in your life. Something big is about to happen to you. And the key, though, is how you react, because your mindset, your frequency, and your vibration is going to attract whatever matches that. And if your frequency and vibration is, I am a victim, my life sucks, why do these things always happen to me? Why do bad things always happen to me? Why does my life always suck? If that's what you're thinking, you're going to get more of that, right? The other thing is that's what you're thinking. My life sucks. How come I always have bad luck? Why is the world so horrible to me? Why do people treat me like crap? Why? That is your identity. Now, I want to hammer this one home. You've just announced your identity. Do you want to be that person that has bad luck? Do you want to be that? Do you want to be that person that, the world always screws them over? Do you want to be that person? Because that's the identity that you are giving yourself. Don't you want to be that person over there who, God, they're so lucky. How come they're so lucky. They always get everything they want. Things always work out for them. Even when they had that bad thing happen, something good happened. Like, they actually turned out better. Like, because that's actually you too, but you're not seeing it that way. You want to assume that identity. And we've all assumed new identities. This is not hard. I'll tell you, when I went from a single person to a wife, that word wife was really hard for me, really hard for me to assume. It just seemed awful to me to be someone's wife, right? I feel like the word wife reminds me of wipe, and I feel like I'm wiping down counters. That's what my job's going to be, wiping down the kitchen, right? I just hated that word so much. I hate it, right? I've learned to wear that with pride, because I've been married a really long time, and I am very proud of my successful marriage. But, when you become a parent, you're like this hot guy, now you're dad. You're someone's dad, someone's mom, right? We've all assumed these new identities, and it's okay. It's okay. We can do that, right? Maybe you were, how about this one? People like this, they're trying to be an EMT, but they're waiting tables in the meantime. You know, they're waiting tables and then they get through EMT school and they get hired as an EMT. Now they're an EMT. Oh, this is John. He's an EMT, as opposed to this is John. He works over at Chili's, right? I mean, if he let that Chili's identity, like really just all I do is work at Chili's. That's all I am. I just work at Chili's. It's like he had plans, bigger plans, and then he got to assume a new identity. So what identity are you going to assume now after this shakeup that you're having, whatever it is, this chaos in your life? Now, I know you're thinking, identity, schmenity, I got to pay my bills. I got to pay bills. Got to pay bills. Yes, I get that. Believe me, I get that. And but here's what I want you to think about. Again, think about those connecting the dots. And also think about trying to turn this being a victim to making this an opportunity. So here's the thing about taking massive action or purposeful action, which is what you need to do in a time like this, right? And you need to do this anyway. Even if you have money, you're going to have to take some sort of action. So this is what you're going to do. Start looking at jobs. It doesn't even matter. And look around. Look at your favorite store. Is your favorite store hiring? Yeah, where if you got discounts, that would be really fun. Your favorite store. You're like, yeah, I'm not I can't see myself working at Home Depot or whatever, wherever, at Orvis or the fishing store or the clothing store. Nothing's permanent. You can do it for now, get some money. Because here's the thing. It's just like, when you start dating someone, all of a sudden everybody starts asking you out. Everybody starts hitting on you. But like for the 3 years prior, no one, not one person, it was crickets. Not one person was hitting on you. It's like that. We've all had that. Feast or famine, right? Feast or famine. As soon as you start dating somebody, everybody starts hitting on you. And that's the same thing. If you start applying for jobs and you're kind of look at what excites you though. You want to apply don't chase the money. Don't go after some horrible sales job. We're going to do telecom. We're going to be phoning people and, trying to sell loans or something. Look around. What does excite you? You're like, oh, I like that place. Oh, that sounds fun. I could learn how to do that. Like just a temporary job, something that excites you. What excites you is your soul's way of telling you, yes, go in that direction. That is your inner being's way of communicating with you. Follow your highest excitement. So something will catch your eye and you'll be like, oh, I could do that. I'm in that store every week anyway. I love that store. Oh, I might get discounts. Like if you start getting in that, now you're getting excited. Now you're in a different mindset, right? So go talk to them. And even if they hire, I bet you if they hire you, all of a sudden your phone's going to start ringing with all kinds of other jobs. Because you got excited about something and you made some sort of step. And that's how your inner being or God or your soul or your spirit guides, they can't guide a parked car. You have to be taking any kind of a step. And then they'll be like, this is good or this is not. You'll realize, oh, that's not going to work out. I can't do that. So, and then you'll leave. Nothing's permanent. But if you go there and you're having a great time, like for the time being, you never know who's going to walk through that door and you're chatting with them and turns out they're hiring and they do the exact same thing that you love to do and you're qualified. And you're going to think back and be like, yeah, this awesome job I got, I never would have gotten it if I weren't working at Dick's Sporting Goods after I got laid off. I never would have met him, wouldn't know about it. That's the magic. That's the magic. And that feeling of excitement when you're looking at like Dick's Sporting Goods, I play soccer. I love that. Yeah, we need stuff. My kids play sports. I could totally use all discounts on all the stuff I'm always buying for my kids. Go in there and start doing it. You never know who's going to walk through the door. Or you never know, the phone might just start ringing like crazy because you're in a different place. You're not in this place of lack. I need a job. I'm desperate. That is the worst place to be. You are attracting more lack. So take any step. But do something that sounds fun to you. Even if people are like, you're making minimum wage, how are you going to do? It's just for now. It's just for now. It's just to help us hold on until the right thing happens. And who knows, like I said, that could be the right thing. They might be like, we need a vice president. So you just never know. Most likely you're going to run into somebody who knows somebody who's going to help you be connected somehow. Something's going to happen. And that's the magic. Like I said, that's magic. It's so fun. How is this going to turn out? But they can't guide a parked car. If you're sitting at home being depressed, this is not going to go well for you. Can I tell you also, so that first company my husband worked at for 20 years, a bunch of people got laid off along with him. That was in March. That Christmas, 2 guys from his work killed themselves. Men, right? Probably had families and houses that they couldn't pay for. They were feeling the squish just like we were, It's like TikTok, October, November, everyone's severance had run out long ago and you can't afford your house payment. You can't afford your house payment. They were feeling the squeeze like we were. And they felt hopeless. 2 people killed themselves that December after Christmas, right after Christmas. I know, it makes me so sad to think about. But that's back to your identity. You cannot make your job your identity. You cannot. Just like you cannot make your job, your address, your identity. You're bigger than that. You're bigger than that. In fact, when I was working at Disney, I actually got laid off during a layoff of 15 people. But of the 15, was the only one who was offered a demotion. And I could either take a severance package, it was like $20,000, or I could take the demotion, which was only about $5,000 a year less. Okay, but it was a demotion. And it was a job I was not thrilled, but the job I had done before. I know what it was. It was not great. And it was going to be for a person I didn't really want to work for. So I went home and I asked my husband and my daughter, what do you think I should do? Part of me, I'm on 50-50. I kind of want to take this money and do something else. And they're like, no, you can't leave Disney. We love Disney. We love going to Disneyland. You can't leave. And the thing is that I knew I only had to stick around for like another 5 years and I would have my benefits for life. Not medical. They don't do that anymore, but I would get to keep my discount. I would get to get my pass into the park and I would get certain privileges for the rest of my life if I just stuck it out for another 5 years, which just sounded like forever. So they talked me into it and I did it and I stayed and I stuck around. But flipping this house during the pandemic, it really showed me that we could do this. And so I started doing more of that. And then I ended up being able to replace my income with my real estate stuff because we took that chance in 2020. And I ended up leaving in 2022. So again, it helped me too. But I kind of have this feeling that the universe was trying to get me out of Disney earlier so that I could do my calling, which is actually helping people with anxiety and helping and coaching people and helping them out of darkness. This is my calling right here. So I encourage you. I've given you the tools to, like, if you're having panic attacks, breathing, smiling, humming, things to calm you down. But really try to look for something fun to do. If you're worried about making money, just get something that looks fun. It's going to change again, you're going to be like that person that keeps getting hit on as soon as they had a boyfriend, right? I know people who were told they couldn't have babies and they adopted a child and then they immediately got pregnant and they have 2 kids the same age. So it's crazy. It's like, that's the kind of thing. So it makes you fertile even. You're told you can't have children. And by adopting a baby, all of a sudden you have a baby. It's crazy. That's how amazing your energy affects you. So I want you just to find anything you can do. Do a hobby, take a class. That's another thing. Got my husband to try to take classes. That would be fun. And what's so funny right now, he's going to take a sewing class. I'm so excited for him. And I'm not at home. I'm here in Cincinnati. He's at home in LA. And he's signed up for a sewing class and he went and bought a sewing machine. Like that's the kind of fun life should be, right? Because he has the time and I'm not around, he's going to go do something crazy. So that's fun. So do something, take a class, learn a skill, learn a new language, take a job at your favorite store and just do that for a while, see what it's like. It's not, nothing's permanent. No one's going to judge you, especially since we all saw what happened. I mean, that is the thing about losing a job, is that people are always, you know, the new person who's trying to hire you is always, why did you leave? That was a good job, right? You are so lucky. If you lost your job in this environment, everyone feels for you. In fact, there will be people trying to snap you guys up. So if you're one of these federal workers or somebody who was impacted by whether it was the tariffs or by any of this stuff, you know, everyone knows it's not your fault. So you are a step ahead of most people who lose their jobs. Again, life happens for you. What will you do with this opportunity? The universe cannot drive a parked car. You got to take a step, any kind of step in any direction, but choose a direction that's fun. Don't chase money. Do something that's fun. And then all of a sudden that phone's going to start ringing. Magic will happen. So I will leave you with that. I know you're going to be okay. Please don't lose hope. Just take a step. Do something fun. Focus on feeling good as best you can. All right. Sending you guys love. I have so much love for you all. And I want to, I found out that people from outside, now that I own my own show, I've realized that people from other countries are watching this or listening to it. And I just want you to know that we see what's going on around the world. I see it. I see the soldiers dying. I see the victims of war. I see that. And if you're listening to this, if this is finding you, I want you to know I love you. And we all feel for you and you're going to be okay. Hang in there. I know I just got sad. So I do see it all. And I am sending you all positive vibes to please find a way to find happiness, to find some joy. Again, smile, deep breathe, imagine an exciting future, imagine a different reality. Go there. Take a step towards something you enjoy and let the magic come to you, because it will. My name is Jen, and I'm here to help. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. This is Bright by your side.